I appreciate everyone tonight committing this time. I know it's not something that we've got a lot of, and I'm sorry that we got a little confused with my fault on not keeping track of how many were coming. I didn't want us to get in trouble with the fire marshal. So the program, when we started signing up, it was just, first come, first serve, RSVP, and then we didn't realize that the room only held 80, and we already had like 100 people signed up. So I apologize for that confusion. This is something that has been a topic for me for many years. I have been involved in medicine for 31 years. See people come and go. I used to do the bariatric surgery, pills. People approach me all the time, and honestly, I just really didn't have anything to say. Didn't really have anything to tell you that I thought would work. I saw this program. My son had good results with it, and so he, got me interested in it. I looked at it, kind of vetted it the best I can do, and felt like that this was something that I would like to share with others. This will not be for everybody, but I like to look at it as it's a tool in my bag now when I'm talking to people, that it is something that I can offer them that I know does work. It has a couple of issues with it, and we'll talk about those later on, but I'm very thankful that you're here and trying to take some steps towards taking care of yourself. So, weight, being overweight, why does it really matter? Who really cares? Well, if you look at the U.S., it's about 5% of our world population, but it accounts for about 13% of the world's overweight people. 60% of U.S. women, 75% of men, and to me, most concerningly, 30% of children. That number is growing. When you have problems with weight, you have all sorts of medical issues that you're going to face. We're well aware of that, most of us. And that's if your BMI exceeds 23. 23 is still in the normal weight. 20 to 24 is considered normal weight. So anything above 23 is really putting you at risk for lots of complications. Just how many in here, including myself, how many of you in here have been on at least one diet in your life? Okay, now keep your hands up. How many of you have been on at least 2 diets in your life? 3? Easily 3 here. So, the point is, we've all done this. There was a study that I would like to reference here. 2 groups. They told one group, look, we just want you to control your weight the best you can. Don't want you to diet, just watch what you eat. The other group, they said, we want you to diet. So the group that dieted, they chose their own dieting and all, and at the end of 5 years, guess which group weighed the most? The dieters weighed more than the ones who had not done anything. Because you know what you do, you lose weight, then you gain that back plus some. Then you lose weight, then you gain that back plus some. So at the end of that, the people who were actively trying to diet had actually gained more weight than the other group. Success rate is dismal. It's about 15% of people that actually lose their desired weight, and much lower, under 5%, that actually are able to maintain that for any length of time, years. So it's a problem. By the numbers, just to show you what you're up against, 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. A marathon runner in a 26.2-mile race burns about 2,600 calories. So if you have 20 pounds that you would like to lose, that's 20 times that, 70,000 kilocalories, or 70,000 calories. That's 26.9 marathons to lose 20 pounds. That's ridiculous. Nobody's going to do that. There's no possible way that we're going to achieve that. In general, any excess fat, any excess food that you eat is stored as fat, not protein, not glucose. Fat is the storage. Adult has, I thought this was interesting, about 30 billion cells. That doesn't change. What happens is the cells, as you incorporate more fat, the cells swell. So your fat cell number really doesn't change much as an adult. I like this. I wanted to go jogging, but Proverbs 28:1 says the wicked run when no one is chasing them. So there's that. Amen. For a while, amen. So here's what your body prefers. It will preferentially choose glucose, which is carbs, as its main fuel source. It's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to get. It's quick. If it doesn't have glucose, it's then going to turn to muscle or protein. This is where, when you're dieting, you got to really watch. It's a slippery slope. If you don't watch out, you're going to hurt yourself. If you don't know what you're doing, that would include me. And then only as a last resort will it turn to fat. So you can imagine fat is this. I did a post on this a few months ago. Fat is somewhere in northern Siberia in this 2,000-foot hole that's being guarded by, all these armed men, and you're going to try to go get it on a pack mule. I mean, that's how difficult it is for you to get your body to mobilize fat. It's going to do anything else it can first. The fat is there as an emergency. Glucose is the ticket, and as your blood glucose rises, so does insulin. And that forces glucose into cells, and more important for us, it makes fat storage and also blocks fat release. So when your glucose is not controlled, you're going to have a very difficult time losing weight. It's just the way, by the nature of the beast. As blood glucose falls, insulin falls. And when insulin falls, that leads to mobilization of the glycogen, the protein, and the fat, what you're trying to get to. So fat mobilization, once your body burns through the glucose stores, which is very small, your low insulin levels will then trigger glucagon, which then stimulates fat breakdown. I know this is all blah, blah, blah stuff. I just want you to know there's some science behind this. There's a lot of science behind what we're trying to do here. The liver converts these newly released fatty acids into ketone bodies, and that's called ketosis. That's the way you burn the fat that you mobilize, is these ketone bodies. So ketosis, really, the idea here is to keep your insulin very low and steady. And the way you do that is you maintain your glucose levels low and steady. Any intake above 100 grams of glucose in a day is usually going to make your body choose the glucose pathway. So what you got to do is somehow get below 100 grams of glucose a day to make your body force it to go down other pathways. There should be certain requirements for something that we're going to do as far as safety. You must supply your body with the minimum protein daily. Otherwise, your body, once it's out of glucose, is going to turn to your muscle. And that is a very bad thing because you don't make more muscle. You've seen the guys that were prisoners of war. You see them at the end of the Nazi Germany camp, and then you see them 15, 20 years later and they still look the same. When they were starved to death, they burned that muscle and you don't get it back. So it's very dangerous for you to do this the wrong way. So you want to make sure that you give enough protein, and you also want to make sure that you can give your body the complex carbohydrates it needs, because specifically your liver cannot burn those ketone bodies that we're wanting to generate. So you have to be able to provide other means of support. Here are some popular diet choices. You can sound off when you've tried yours. I'm pretty sure I'll hit most everybody's. There's low carb, low fat. Seems like everything's low, right? It's always low taste. Low carb, less than 20 grams. These are the Atkins and the keto diets. These hurt. I mean, these are really mostly fat, low protein, low carb. There's the raw foods, very low calorie diets. That's essentially a starvation diet, 500 calories. And then high protein diets. These are just some of the more common ones. What's the common denominator here? Most of them fail. They don't affect long-term change. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So these things don't work because they're not, the one critical thing, many of them you will lose weight, but the one critical thing you're not doing is you're not changing behavior. So this is my first car, 65 Mustang. I had a gentleman here that could work on my car, and I called him a master mechanic. I would take the car to him. He didn't have electronics or anything, and I literally watched him raise my hood because something was making a knocking noise. He took a broom handle and put it on his forehead and leaned it up against the engine block, and he would sound the cylinders, and he would tell me which cylinder was the one that was misfiring. Now that's a master, okay? That's a master mechanic. We want to find something here that is a master plan. A plan that works where others fail, and hopefully that we know why it's working and understand it. So to me, plans, these are the minimum. And again, I'm not trying to sell a specific plan, although I am. I'm trying to sell you Optavia as far as getting you to consider it. But any plan that you want to put here, in my opinion, has to measure up to this. It's got to measure up to these standards. It should be safe. It should be convenient. The meal replacements are a critical part of a plan for it to work well. Coaching is a critical part for it to work well. A program needs to modify your habits or you're not going to get lasting change. And last of all, it's got to be cost effective. So what our plan is not, it's not voodoo. It's not magic. It's not snake oil. It's grounded firmly in science. It's been around 40-something years. It's nothing magic about it. And it's not rocket science. It's not difficult. Okay? It's a very, very simple to follow, very reproducible plan that you will have results with. It's just anatomy and physiology. That's all this is about, is knowing how your body reacts to certain things and then using that to your advantage, just like you would with anything else in life. So Optavia, it started out as Metafast, 1980. You used to have to come to me, to a doctor, to get it. In the 90s with HMOs, that kind of fell out of favor. And so people stopped going to their doctor for things like that. So in 2001, it was revamped as the Take Shape for Life. And so what they did was they took it out of the doctor's office and just started doing what we're doing now. And then it was rebranded in 2017 as Optavia because next year they're going international. So they wanted it shorter than Take Shape for Life. But it's been around a long time. In the past 8 years, they've been named one of America's best small companies by Forbes 4 years. And they've been named in the last 2 years one of the top 100 most trusted companies in America by Forbes. That's an honor. I mean, it's a very trustworthy company. Is it effective? Well, we have the main flagship that most of us are on, right? All of us are on the 5-in-1 plan. Most of us are on the 5-in-1 plan. And it is extremely effective. It's a general fat-burning state by the second or third day that you get into. Your weight loss is typically 2 to 5 pounds the first week, 2 to 5 pounds the second week, 1 to 2 pounds each week thereafter that you stay on the plan. So I think this plan, among others, is very safe, very effective, and very time-tested. Now, there are other plans that meet those criteria too. It needs to be convenient. Well, our daily program, you have an eating plan where you have 80 grams of carbs, so it's below that 100. You have about 90 grams of protein, so that's well up there to keep you from chewing up your muscle. It is low fat, so that's good, and they're complex fats, healthy fats. And the total calories on this 5-in-1 plan is down around 1,000 calories, so that's ratcheting it down, I can assure you. That is not what I was used to. I went to Chili's while we were on the plan, and for the first time I really looked at the calorie count on this hamburger that I was salivating over that I knew I was not going to get. And it was 2,200 calories for the hamburger and the French fries or whatever came with it. This is, I'm talking about, when I talk to people about this, they're saying, what do I get to eat in addition to this? No. This is it. Yep. This is what you're eating, 1,000 calories a day. So you will ratchet it down on the diet. But you have 5 fuelings a day, one every 2 to 3 hours. Now this happens to happen, actually. And we're swapping out some. So this is one of the fuelings that my sister doesn't like, but I happen to like. Wild blueberry almond hot cereal. So it's got 7 fuelings in here, one for each day of the week. You don't have to eat these 7 days in a row, but you can. So the fuelings, you eat one of these every 2 to 3 hours, and then in the afternoon, usually for us, we eat what's called a lean and green meal, which is about a 400-calorie meal. What that looks like if you got it out at Chick-fil-A is 12 grilled nuggets and a side salad. That's a lean and green meal. It is a grilled Caesar salad at Zaxby's without the croutons. So that's what it looks like, if you eat it out. If you fix it at home, my wife fixed a piece of salmon, 6-ounce piece of salmon with spinach on top and some ricotta cheese or something, and it was salmon Florentine. It was delicious. That was our lean and green tonight. We actually had it before we came in here. So it's not difficult to stay on the plan. It's a very easy plan. You need to drink 64 ounces of water. You need to drink 64 ounces of water. You need to drink 64 ounces of water. This plan has a lot of fiber in it, and if you don't drink a lot of water, what you will find is if you drink the 64 ounces, you'll have smooth sailing. And what I mean by that, I emphasize the word smooth sailing. If you don't, you're going to get this. Trust me, I've already experienced both of these, okay? So you want to drink a lot of water on the plan because it has a lot of fiber in it. And so if you eat these little bars, you think, oh, these are wonderful. You're eating sponges, and you're going to pay for that. So, but the plan is safe and it's very convenient. These meal replacements that I was showing you, the fuelings I love. It's one of the two best things I like about the program. Each one of these is 100 to 110 calories. So let's say you don't like the blueberry, but you like the zesty lemon bars. And let's say that you have a fetish for those, so you want to eat 5 of those a day. It doesn't matter. You can eat 5 of those a day. They're nutritionally identical. So you just go into your pantry, you pick from the 68 choices, you say, I want this, and this today. And you pick those 5, put them in your little bag, and you're off. And you eat one every 2 to 3 hours. It's that simple. You can eat all the same. That's a very boring person, but you could do that if you wanted to. They all have the same amount of vitamins and minerals and nutritional support. They're nutritionally identical. They have 11 grams of protein, the vitamins, probiotics, your healthy fats for the day, fiber. There's 60 choices. There are bars, shakes, cookies. They all the time are coming up with something new. What the lace cinnamon sticks, cinnamon sticks. And I haven't had them yet, but they look wonderful. The majority are with little or no prep time. This is what they look like, a blurry image of what they look like. There's nothing wrong with your glasses, your eyes. So the meal replacements have been shown to be a very critical part of any weight loss program to be effective. It doesn't have to be ours, Optavia. But I'm telling you, if you want a successful diet, that is a critical part of your diet. And then the coaching. How important is the coaching? Well, the coaching, there were 2 identical groups with Optavia's team. One thing I can say about these guys is they really vet themselves. There are lots of studies, double-blind studies that they have done themselves or they've had people do on their product. They took 2 identical groups, one with the fuelings, the book and everything, and they just said, you go get it. The other group, they did what we normally do, which they did all of that, plus they gave you a coach. And the group with the coach got 10 times as much weight loss as the other group, as the self-directed group. That has been shown in multiple studies. That people who have some accountability, have some encouragement and coaching, do much better than people who are trying to do these diets self-directed or on their own. So the coach is critical. So whatever your plan is that you want to use, you don't have to use Optavia, but it needs to have a coach. It needs to have some kind of coaching aspect built into it. The plan really needs to modify habits too, because if you don't do that, you're going to do the same thing that you were doing. One of the pillars of the program really started with this book that Dr. Anderson wrote. He's a critical care anesthesiologist. He worked in critical care, one of the first people in the United States boarded in critical care. He wrote this book, Habits of Health, and his whole goal is to show you bad habits that you're doing now and exchange those for good habits. We don't even like to call this a weight loss program. I didn't even really know what to call it when we were talking because they really don't want to call it a weight loss program. It's called Habits of Health. We want you to get to healthy habits for yourself. If you do that, you will lose the weight. I'll guarantee you will lose the weight. But the idea here is to move to healthy habits. Because if you don't do the healthy habits and you just lose the weight, guess what? You're doing the yo-yo again. You're just going to go right back to what you were doing. So the Habits of Health is designed to get you through clearly prescribed steps to replace old poor habits with new healthy habits one at a time. It includes the booklet that we talk about. It includes the fuelings. Their plan includes the Optavia community. There's this massive community of thousands of people that are on the same journey you are. That comes with it. You can Facebook with them, chat with them, anything, support. And then the coach, there ought to be a coach, which is absolutely critical. The plans, the 5 and 1's the standard for most people, but look at this. There's a plan called 5, 2, and 2. So let's say you've got brittle diabetes, or let's say that you have 100 pounds to lose. So that person gets 5 fuelings and 2 small meals a day, and 2 snacks a day. So it's a much easier plan to stay on. You don't lose the weight as fast. You wouldn't expect to, right? Surely not. It's a 1,400 calorie diet instead of 1,000 calories. But you will lose weight on this. There's a 4, 2, and 1 plan for athletes and others. There's a 3 and 3 maintenance plan. There's a diabetes plan. There is a plan for gout. There is a plan for seniors to encourage them because they have special needs. There's a teenage plan. There's a nursing mother's plan. So they've got all of these plans already ready to go. So most anybody can do this. The lean and green meal, I'll just quickly go over this, is typically one lean choice of a meat. And you don't have to know this, it's in the book, but I just want you to see what it is. There's 3 servings of healthy vegetables with that and a healthy fat serving. And this is just right out of the book. These are some of the choices. There's turkey. I mean, pretty much any meat you would normally eat. Some of them you can have more of than others. But it tells you very quickly and easily what is your meat that you can choose. And then the green choices. 1 cup of spinach is that. But if you want asparagus, it's a little more higher glycemic index, so you can only have a half cup. So, it's very simple to do your lean and green at home, or there's a dining out guide. And then once you get to your maintenance, once you get your target weight, whatever that is that you've decided on, that the coach helps you with, then you have a 2 to 4 month transition where you transition up to what is called a maintenance plan 3 and 3, and we help you with that to get to the desired weight that you want to be at and maintain it. And we help you, build that in over a few months of that. Then you can even go off of the fuelings at that point. If it's something that they're expensive, you don't want to do those anymore, we help you transition off of the fuelings. Follow-up, this is something, again, I need to start emphasizing to my crew. First 3 weeks, we really don't want you to exercise. You're going to be doing good to show up. So, but after the first 3 weeks, when you start feeling good, and feel like you want to live again, it's not that bad. But there were days you walk across the parking lot here, I'm like, whoa, man, what am I doing? Because it'll wear you out. You hit the wall real quick. You don't have that glycogen. With that glycogen, when you get hungry, you just burn glycogen like that. The fat's not like that. Ketosis is a little bit slower, energizing. So you wilt. But after 3 weeks, we want you to exercise, and you build that back in. The coaching continues. Like I said, the first week, we're usually in your face once a day. How are you doing? Texting you, emailing you, something, whatever you want to communicate with. Second week's usually a couple of times. About the third week or so, you're probably just checking in once a week, weighing. How are you doing with your plan? So I think that this plan I can hold out to you. It has a plan to modify your habits, which is really what I bought into when I saw this. The other stuff I was moved with. I was moved with the meal replacements. That's critical. I was moved with the fact that I was going to get a coach, my son. I enjoyed talking to him. But what really moved me was that we actually had a plan to modify my habits to 6 small meals a day and help me to maintain this, something that I thought I could do the rest of my life. And that's different. That's not what I've always done in the past. So we'll leave that last one for now. So here's a picture of me. That's a little loud there, man. It's so bad I can't look. That looks like a little Yoda belly. I want to rub it. Yep. So this is my glucose. For 2 years, Dr. Mary Beth Wiles wanted to put me on metformin, and I just stubborn as my mom used to say I would argue with a fence post. She's not far from being right. But anyway, I couldn't get it below 100. Could not get it below 100. And I finally just gave up and said, that's just the way it's going to be. And this was 3 weeks into my plan. That's my fasting. That's my blood, and that's my fasting glucose, 66. And I've checked it 2 times since then. It was 87 one time and 78 or something the second time. So the plan works. I mean, it lowers your glucose, which lowers your insulin, which then starts mobilizing fat. So there's my belt. I'm running out of loops or whatever, those little notches, whatever you call them. I'm down to my last one on that one. There's my scale that I use, calculates my body age based on all of my numbers that it measures. And it started out I'm 57. It started out at 57. It's actually down now to 36. That was just my most recent photo, but it's down to 36 now. And these are my numbers. I went from BMI 24 to 20, 174 pounds that I actually started. That Yoda picture, I was 180. Down to 145 now. Actually, I'm not 146, 145. Percent body fat down to 10%, 9 to 10, it varies. Muscle mass has gone up. Visceral fat, that's a critical one for guys. Visceral fat is very difficult to get rid of, and it's a strong marker for disease. Went from 8 to 3. The point of all that, am I bragging? Who cares about me? The point is it works. I'm just trying to show you. I have vetted this. I have stuck myself. I've done all these things. I just don't believe people. I got to see it myself. So I've done all this stuff, and it works. So it doesn't just work for me. Here's young. We got thousands of them. I could bore you all night with this. Older gentlemen, ladies, men, long-term, short-term. This is a picture. Don't think they mind us using it. This is something that you don't get to do. And then when you get to do it, it's meaningful, So it's a picture of success. So I've said a bunch. I've got just a teeny bit more to say in a minute, but I wanted to give them time. Actually, I'd rather you go last. That's okay. Vicki, you want to say something?
Oh, okay.
You don't have to say anything.
It's just real quick. I've only been on it about a month. I work with Dr. Efird, so we see a lot of people. And so somebody kind of needs to be in the office and when people are interested in it. So I thought, I'll do it. So I wanted to lose 15 pounds. I've lost 11. So I'm almost there. I probably need to go further, but I don't know. We'll see. People start telling me I look older when I too skinny. But you have to have a why to do it. And I wanted to, I have 3 grandbabies. I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with them. Right? I mean, how many people can get down and get back up? I couldn't get back up. I'd have to, really help me. My knees, my back, everything was aching. I'd get out of the bed and Rice Krispies, So that's my why. I just want to get younger inside so that I can play with my babies.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Lynn. I'm the sister of baby.
Sorry.
I started this on September 11th, and I have lost 26 pounds as of yesterday. It's amazing. My why is, when Matthew asked me, why do you want to do this, Aunt Lynn? I said, because God created me to thrive, not just survive. And I want to live. I've gone through some horrible things a few years ago in my life and felt like I just was waiting for God to come back, and I was ready to go home. And that's the focus I kept having. And he said, that's not what I have for you. I want you to live. I want you to thrive, not just survive. And so the end of July, I went to Belk's and bought these big honking things. Today, I'm 2 sizes down. I got to go down 2 sizes. So these are capri pants that are supposed to come to your calf, and they're now down to my ankles because they're so baggy. So it does work. It's worth every second you put into it for yourself. You're worth it. God wants you to thrive, not just survive, and not just to go through the motions of day-to-day life, but to really live. And we climbed, that was my husband and I, on that last slide, we climbed Devil's Courthouse a few weeks ago, and it was just amazing to get to experience that and just to have my life back again. So I highly recommend it.
Thanks.
I'm Jennifer Sanders. I have known Steve and Kathy for 20 plus years. Kathy actually was my very, very first friend here in Blairsville when my husband and I moved. He is a physician here, and Kathy called me up and said, I want to do a baby shower for you, and we've been friends since. But I've been very heavy and very thin. When I was growing up, I was always the skinny kid. I was really skinny until I had children, and then once I had 4 kids, and I had them very close together, and so when they were all little, I was either up and down, fixing their dinner or whatever, and hey Carla, and I never felt satisfied, so I started gaining weight, so I've been on every diet there has been, and I've been successful at some of them, but this is a no-brainer. You have 5 fuelings every couple of hours. I'm hungry. Okay, let's go get a fueling. So you eat, and then at the end of the day, you eat a sensible meal. I mean, that's what you would normally eat on a diet. And there are so many fueling hacks out there that you can spice it up a little bit. You can also have lots of lean and green recipes. If you love to cook, this is where you thrive, because I love it. It is awesome. I started this on October 1st, and I've lost 19 pounds.
Steve, I wanted to say too, it's the first time in my life I haven't thought about what I'm going to eat next.
Right.
Because I have my fuelings, and I know in 2 to 3 hours I'm going to have another fueling, and it's in my bag, and so I'm not living my life to what am I going to eat. Sometimes I actually forget, so if I didn't have a reminder set, I would forget that I need to go grab something to eat because I'm busy living life now instead of focusing on, oh, what am I going to eat now?
And that's such an important point. I cannot emphasize the fuelings. That is a critical part of a program. And Lynn just said it.
If you don't know me, my name is Matthew. I have these that I used to wear. I was about 65 pounds heavier than I am right now. I started this program in late June. If you know me or my wife, we post a lot about our son. He is now 8 and a half months old. If you want to pray for somebody, you can pray for us because he is crawling, and I now have the ability to get on the ground and crawl around with him, and it is amazing. That I come home, I don't feel tired. I actually have genuine energy. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my life as a young dad. This program is incredible. Easy to follow. I'm on the go a tremendous amount. Easy to be a part of, and it's very effective. Again, I mean, these last year I wore. So as a young man, this was not okay. As a young father, that was my why, that I had to get healthy for my son, because I would like to, Lord willing, see him grow up. I want to be around. And so I made the investment in my life, and the whole program is about changing your habits, as Dad said. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's what this program does. This program equips you to live a healthy life. If you're just looking to lose weight, you're missing the point. The point is to create health. A byproduct of creating health is losing weight and being at a healthy weight. So change your mentality of how can you create health in your life. That's what this program's about. I highly, highly recommend it.
Couldn't have said it better. I know we're running about 30 minutes now. I'm going to look at 45 for sure. I don't want to put everybody to sleep. I can do that very easily. Charge for that anesthesia. So we want to give you some stretch goals. I always like to do just a little bit more than what you bargained for. And it's not just about the losing the weight. There's a couple of things I've come across in this that I want to share with you very quickly. One of them is bad genes research. There's something called DNA methylation. So it is true that if you have a bad gene genetically, you may get cancer. But that's only thought to be about 10% of cancer. About 90% of cancer is other than, okay? But here's some cool research even on that 10%, so I'll spot you that. There is strong evidence mounting that even if you have one of these bad genes, that if you are surrounding yourself with a healthy living environment, you can keep those bad genes methylated, and that means they don't get translated. And that is fascinating. So we can't necessarily right now make your bad gene go away, but if you can put yourself in a position of good health, there is some strong evidence that you can mitigate that and keep that from being translated. That's good news. The other thing is this ultra longevity, and I'm totally into this. You just have to follow me on Facebook because this is just an ongoing development. There's and the reason I've tried to strive to get to a BMI 20, because once you get to a BMI 20, there is some strong evidence if you calorie deprive yourself by 10 to 15% below that, you can extend your life potentially 15 to 20 years, and some people say much more than that. Now, obviously, if the mail truck runs over me, that's not in that statistic, okay? But I'm talking about everybody else, because by the way, that's only like 1%. These random accidents and stuff. Most of us don't die from those things. We're dying from these other things that we could fix. So to be able to do something that would allow you to extend your life years, I think that's pretty cool. It goes well beyond just, I want to look good in my Speedo. So this is to the genetic mechanism, and now I'm going to really bore you. I'm just going to let you look at it for a second. There is some science behind this. If you have a bad gene and you keep it coiled up or methylated, then that gene doesn't get expressed. So that's the idea behind the DNA. So the plan's minimums, and you think, you skipped over that, cost effective. No, I wanted to do it last. I wanted to get the testimonials in first, because I have talked to, I don't know if I've talked to 100 yet, but I've talked to close to people. And I have everybody up to this point. Most everybody's like, where do I sign up for this? And then they hear the price. And then that's the end of the story for most people. I mean, it really is. So I felt like I wanted to spend just a few minutes trying to do this, because really the issue here, I think this is, as has been said, this is a no-brainer besides the cost. So what are the costs? What are we looking at? Well, just to preface this was from 2012, and I've tried to do more research on this, and it's kind of all over the place. But most people reported in 2012 was spending somewhere about $150 to $180 a week on their sales on food. That's $21, $25 a day, or $600 to $700 a month on food. That was 2012. That has changed some, and some are on limited fixed incomes. I got it. But in general, we're speaking there, somewhere upwards of $20 a day is not difficult. And this is Bureau of Labor Statistics. So even if you take their numbers, the government's numbers, and this is 2010, is $124. If you take that number, you're still looking at somewhere around $17 a day with that number, 2010 data. The fuelings cost about $13 and some change a day, plus your lean and green. So you got to factor that in. So you still get back to about $20 a day. The water's free, essentially. Most people find this to be a cash neutral plan. And what I mean by that is, my wife and I are both on the plan, and we're not spending any more now than we were. We're actually spending less, because now I don't go to Chili's and spend $50 on an appetizer and 2 meals and gorge. So we're actually saving money. But even if you just said you spend the same amount, well, what are you getting for that? Okay, well, you're getting a healthy lifestyle and you're getting a weight loss plan for roughly the same amount of money. So anyway, it's mostly a cash neutral thing. The problem is you're paying for that up front. So it would be like me coming to you and telling you, I want you to pay for your entire month's groceries up front. And you say, well, I'm not used to doing that. I buy it 3 meals a day. I understand, but that's what this does. They unfortunately don't let you buy it 3 meals a day. You have to buy it up front, a month at a time. But it does have a money-back guarantee with it the first month. So I really feel like that this is a very, very effective plan. I think that any plan that you want to try is certainly fine. You have my blessings. But I strongly advise you that it needs to meet these criteria, or you're going to be dissatisfied with the plan yet again. Optavia has been around for 48 years. It's a proven safety record through Medifast. I think it will help you transform your life. I think as a byproduct of that, you will lose weight. We would love to help you, but it's like has been said a couple of times here. I don't know if you've caught it. You need to know what your why is. Simon Sinek does these great books that I encourage you to read. You need to know your why. If I told you I will give you $20 to walk this 30-foot I-beam the way it is right there, how many of you would do that? How many of you would do that? $20 just to walk that 30 feet, okay? So here's the same I-beam. 40 stories up. How many of you now are going to walk that for $20? Anybody?
I will. Give it to
All right. What if I told you that your child is sitting on the other end of that beam? Now, how many of you would walk that, or at least try to? Okay. Well, what changed? What changed there on that? The beam is still 40 stories up. It's still 10 inches wide. The why. Instead of $20, it's my child. Are you kidding me? I don't care if it's 60 feet. I'll find some way to get across it, right? So if your why is correct, you will do whatever it takes to do that. So I would ask you, what's your why? If this is your why, now this is my weakness. Lord help me, okay? I love cars, and I love fast, sleek, sexy cars. If I walked up to this car, my blood pressure would probably fall, and I would start sweating just to stand there, okay, and look at this car, okay? I love cars. I could possibly hawk myself for years and afford that car, but you know what? I never have. I never will. I like that car, but that's not my why. I love those cars. I love to look at them, but it's somebody else's car, and I don't have any intention of buying one. That's not a big enough why for me. This is my why, okay? That's my dad. My dad died at 68 of heart disease after his family struggled with his health and him for years. And now I drive by my mom's house every day, and she's up there by herself, and I can't do anything to fix that. These are my sons. One of them's here. This is my why. This is my why. These are my two sons, my daughter-in-law, now my grandson, and my wife. I don't want to leave my wife sitting there by herself. So I've got a why that I would die for. I would take a bullet for. So my why and why I want to do what I have done with my health is driving me to do these sacrifices, whatever the sacrifices are. I count it small. So if you have your why, what you need to do, what I would ask you tonight, and again, I'm talking about Optavia just because it's a program that I know works, but I strongly encourage you, even if you don't do Optavia, you need to look inside yourself, and you really need to ask yourself a very difficult question. Why do you want to be healthy? Now, I know that sounds stupid, but, I'll have people that kick the tires, and they really haven't even thought about really why they really want to be healthy. And then I have other people that I call, or that they call me, and they're knocking me down. I'm trying to just tell them about the program, and they're just saying, shut up, I want to order. That they've already decided what their why is, and they feel like this vehicle will get them there. And I believe this vehicle will get them there. So you have to decide, why do you want to be healthy? If you've got a burning reason that for that, you will. The rest of it's just details. All that person needs is just the right product in front of them, and it will work. So that's about it. What I would ask you to do, if you're interested in the product, in Optavia, and signing up and talking to us, that kind of stuff. What I would advise you to do is that's my cell phone number, is just text me, or you can email me. There's my email address. Or you can go to Facebook and contact us that way. But I would suggest you do one of those, even right now as you're sitting there. But I need your name, and then your contact. If it's a cell phone, obviously I'll get that. And then if you've been working with somebody else, I'll get you to the right person. So like if somebody's here that Matthew's invited, I'll ask you that. How did you hear about us? Well, Matthew's talking to me. I'll get you to Matthew. If Vicky's talked to you, I'll get you to Vicky. So, there are coaches. You can't get the system without a coach, but they did that on purpose. You don't pay for the coach. All you pay for is your product. All of us pay the same thing. We buy the fuelings. We buy 154 fuelings a month. That's 7 a day, 5 a day. So, but this is how to get in touch with me, and it'd just be easier for you to get in touch with me, and then I'll get it to the right person. If it's, are there any questions? Anything that anybody has? I appreciate your time.